Today we're going to look at random number generation in the CG50 Prism calculator, the FX CG50 calculator. So this is a menu-driven color graphing calculator, and we're going to go into Run Matrix, which is that top menu here, to access our calculations because random numbers are considered a calculation. So I can either hit the number 1 that goes with this menu icon, or I can hit execute because since I happen to be on it, if I weren't on it, I could use the toggle. I'm going to turn on my key log here so that you can see where I'm going to get to the random numbers. So I'm going to hit execute first. That gets me into my menu. And for those of you unfamiliar with Casio, everything in the menu is now accessible through these function keys. So the function keys become very important, and so they line up. So if I were to hit F2, I could delete everything on my screen. Of course, there's nothing there right now. F3 is going to get me into matrices or vectors, and I can set up matrices in their dimensions. And math gets me into, if we just click it, I can do all these different, these are basically templates. So I could set up my logs if I was going to calculate a logarithm or an absolute value. So each icon here, or each function is under a function key. The function key under it will get you into it, and it might be a template. If you want to get back to where you were, the exit key helps. And so I'm going to get back to that main screen right here. So if you notice, math did not seem to have any random numbers. So a couple other things when you want to think about in Casio is whenever you're in a menu, whatever you see here is going to get you into other functionality. You just click the function, but you also want to check this VARS button, which has more options, right? So here's some more options, and again, they're controlled by my function keys. And when you see this arrow, that means there's more options, and so I'm looking at more options here. Let's hit exit to get back to our main one. And the other button that you want to make sure you're clicking is option. So option also gives you more access. And so we're looking for the random numbers, which are considered a probability situation. So I don't see that here. So I'm going to hit F6 to go see more. And then there's my probability. So I'm going to choose F3 for probability. And you'll see here's what I can do with probability: X factorial, permutations, combinations, and then random. And there's more than one random thing that you can do here. You can do, and these are basically templates. So random number and random integer, and then random normal number, random bin number. This is when you're doing statistical sampling, so random sample, those type of things. We're not going to focus right here, but this is where they are if that's something you're interested in. I'm just going to look at these first two, the random number and the random integer, to show you how you can seed a random and do random number generation. So to do that, I'm going to choose, let's look at random number first. So you choose the function button that's under it, and that gives me this template here. And in random number, you only have to enter execute, or if you're on your computer, you can hit enter on the emulator software. This is going to give you a random number between 0 and 1. So when I hit execute, here's my random number. Now notice I have a lot of decimals. Maybe I don't want quite that many decimal places. So another place to look at is to go into your setup, shift setup, and I want to scroll down till I get to my display. And normal one is the standard setting. If I want a fixed number of decimals, I'm going to hit F1 here. So again, everything is your options appear at the bottom of your screen all the time, no matter what screen you're in, and then you choose the function to help you. So how many decimal places do we want? So let's go with 3. And so we're going to hit execute, and remember to get back to where we were, we hit exit, and this gives us back where we are. Now it's not going to change the one we did before, but now if I hit execute again, I get a new random number that now has only 3 decimal values. And I can continue to hit random, and I'm going to get different random values. I could toggle, oh, it's not going to let me toggle because it's a random number. So that's random numbers between 0 and 1. If I want a random integer value, I'm going to hit F2. So F2, notice now I have something different. It says random integer, and it has a parentheses. So basically it's asking for a range. So let's say I have a class of 30 and I'm looking for random numbers. So I'm going to put in my range from 1, and then I'm going to use the comma up here to separate them, and my n value. And now when I hit execute, it's going to give me a random number that is a random integer between 1 and 30. And so there's 5. and we can continue to hit it, and it'll stay in that range until we change the range. You should also be able to do, let's hit random integer again, and this time let's try some negatives. Let's do it between -5 and +5. Because it's a random integer, negative numbers also will work. And we're not getting any negative numbers right now, but we should, in theory, if I continue. There we go. There's a random integer number. So that's the basics of a random number between 0 and 1 and a random integer number using the calculator. You have to go into Run Matrix, then choose Option, and then find probability, and that's where your random lives.